Care's been part of this morning show for over 30 years. Great insight in the world, taking care of us and our student athletes. And that is Dr. Joe Congini, Sports Medicine Center, Akron Children's Hospital. Talking sports medicine. And Dr. Joe, where do you want to start this morning?
Hey, Ray. I want to start in an area where my partners want me to start. I'm a team player. We had a sports medicine meeting this week, and at least 3 of my partners, my 10 or 11 partners, came up and they made a strong plea, and everybody really was in agreement with this, about moving the topic to the top of the list. Strong plea, urgent plea, and it was confirmed when I looked in the literature about how many kids are getting injured and significant injuries related to e-scooters, e-bikes, electric bikes, trampolines, ATV. Trampolines and ATV have been around for a long, long time. But the new players on the line are the e-bikes and the e-scooters. And the numbers really are staggering. As I looked them up in the last 24 hours, I looked at several studies. And this is affecting so many school kids and athletes who came back this year. They're not ready to play soccer or volleyball or football because they're injured from summer from these injuries on these different, particularly e-scooters. The hospital studies show that the e-bike injuries doubled in each of the past 5 years and continue to show doubling in e-bike injuries. But the e-scooter injuries have gone up by 45% over that period of time, 45% a year, every year, and continuing to go up very rapidly. And some of the most common injuries are significant injuries. I mean, certainly significant head trauma and concussion is near the top of the list, with kids missing time, being hospitalized, and other even worse. And so significant head injuries, especially upper extremity injuries, hand, wrist, and elbow, deep lacerations, cuts, facial cuts and lacerations, facial fractures and significant facial injuries, and internal organ injuries. And so I looked at a couple studies. I looked at, the major centers in the country. There's a report out at Harvard and Johns Hopkins and VCU. Virginia Commonwealth has a study out on this, and it really was very, very telling. So first point is e-bikes are more safe than electric scooters from the studies that they looked at. The e-bikes seem to be more stable. They have larger wheels, and they have you're in a seated position, and you have a lower center of gravity, and kids seem easier to apply the brakes. The brakes are smoother, and you can apply them more quickly. And there's sensitive steering with the e-scooters, and very rapid acceleration, 20 to 25 miles an hour in a hurry. And so a lot of kids get on these. They don't have a lot of experience on these, and we are getting really significant injuries all across the country, but especially even in our own backyard here in Akron, Ohio, as so many of my partners told me through urgent care visits and emergency room visits and admissions to our hospital at Akron Children's. And so I wanted to go over some of the safety guidelines. Gosh, number one, certainly I know it seems like it would make total common sense, but you have to wear a helmet. And actually, from the standpoint of the instability of these scooters, wearing protective pads makes sense too, elbow pads, wrist pads, and so forth, to avoid those fractures and those trips to the orthopedic clinic. We have been over-inundated with trips to our orthopedic clinic with these injuries. Number two, you have to be visible. Wear bright reflective clothing, built-in headlamps and tail lights, very important. Important to try a pre-ride check, especially if you don't have a lot of experience in riding. Get out there and make sure you get used to the very rapid acceleration and the sensitive brakes, and do a pre-ride check. Follow the rules of the road. So really shouldn't be riding these on the sidewalks where people are walking. And so on the road, you have to obey the stop signs. You have to obey you have to look for see if there's any potholes or obstructions or road work going on. Those are significant problems. We also see a lot of people with distractions of headphones and cell phones. That just on these scooters makes no sense at all. Solo riders only too. You do see a lot of two kids on the e-scooters, and that only doubles your chance of injury. So make sure that these kids are riding solo by themselves. Watch carefully, again, as I said, for obstacles in the road as well. And so that was just somewhat of a list as we looked at, again, a few of these studies. And the Harvard Health Report, massive surge, they say, 45% increase every year in the last 5 years. And so I know part of that is because the e-scooters are more accessible and the e-bikes, but very severe trauma in some of these cases, head and internal organ injuries. Several of my partners, part of why they said this, man, in Akron, we in the last 6 months have seemed to have a really significant increase. They said just even over the July 4th weekend, a couple of very severe injuries and hospitalizations in our hospital system at Akron Children's. So it's here in Akron. It's all over the country that it's a problem. It affects athletes, of course, but it affects all kids. As the majority of these are kids that are wearing them. And so when my partners talk, I listen, and they really made a strong and urgent plea to move this topic up a little higher on the list because it seemed like a lot of people weren't talking about it and weren't as aware of how significant. I wasn't aware how significant and how big those increases are, significant increases of injuries. Up in the area for those 4 types of injuries, of 3 million injuries, 45% increase, over 65,000 of these in emergency rooms last year. So just significant. They used the word in the Harvard study, massive surge of injuries, and we need to make sure on this program, because you're so good with educating people in this area for different medical problems they have, we need to make sure that we educate people about what a risk this is.
Yeah, Joe, and the e-bikes are terrific, and biking in general, because it's so prevalent here in the Akron area. I mean, we've got the towpath and just so many great biking areas, and we like to get up there and speed. That helmet safety, and I know you talked about it, but that helmet safety is so important. I have talked and visited with many people over the last, couple of years who either had a head injury or saw other people get head injuries just by riding their bikes.
The bikes are really good for us as adults. Getting exercise and being able to switch back and forth is good, but they are so much more stable. That's really the big thing, the larger wheels and the seated position. The e-scooters, there's a lot of instability, and we got to really be aware of that too, Ray. So thanks so much for the forum of getting that word out on those kinds of injuries this morning.
Yeah, great topic this morning, Joe, as always. Dr. Joe Congini with us here on WAKR. Thanks, Joe. We'll do it again next week.
Okay, Ray. Take care. Have a good week.
You too, my friend. Dr. Joe Congini, Sports Medicine Center, Akron Children's Hospital with us this morning.